On a foggy night in November 1937, during the chaos of the Second Sino-Japanese War, a chilling and inexplicable event unfolded near Nanjing. It's a story that has been whispered about in military circles for decades, a mystery that defies all logical explanation. This is the tale of the 3,000 soldiers who vanished into thin air. Colonel Li Fuxin was tasked with a critical mission: to defend a strategic bridge on the Yangtze River, a vital artery for the defense of Nanjing. His unit, numbering nearly 3,000 strong, dug in along the riverbank, ready to repel the advancing Japanese forces. They were well-equipped, high in morale, and prepared to fight to the last man. The colonel established a defensive perimeter, setting up machine gun nests and artillery positions. Sentries were posted, and the entire area was on high alert. The following morning, reinforcements arrived to relieve Colonel Li's unit. As they approached the defensive line, they were met with an unnerving silence. The air was thick with fog, but there was no sound of activity, no chatter of soldiers, no clatter of equipment. It was as if the entire position had been abandoned. The relief force commander, cautiously advancing, found a scene straight out of a ghost story. The defensive positions were all there, perfectly intact. The heavy artillery pieces were still in place, aimed at the enemy. The machine guns were loaded and ready to fire. In the makeshift mess hall, breakfast was laid out, still warm on the tables. Rifles were stacked neatly in their racks, and personal belongings were left untouched in the tents. Everything was exactly as it should be, except for one glaring detail. There were no soldiers. Not a single one of the 3,000 men was anywhere to be found. A thorough search of the area was immediately launched. They scoured the trenches, the surrounding hills, and the riverbanks. They found no signs of a battle. There were no bodies, no bloodstains, no spent cartridges. The ground showed no tracks of a mass retreat or a chaotic struggle. It was as if every single soldier had simply evaporated. The initial theory was a mass desertion, but that was quickly dismissed. How could 3,000 men coordinate a silent, traceless desertion, leaving behind all their weapons and personal items? It made no sense. They were seasoned soldiers, not recruits prone to panic. Besides, where could they have gone? The area was surrounded. The Japanese army was advancing on one side, and the Yangtze River, a formidable barrier, was on the other. There were no boats missing from the riverbank. Another theory proposed was a surprise Japanese attack. Perhaps a specialized ninja unit had silently infiltrated the camp and taken everyone prisoner. But this too seemed impossible. Capturing 3,000 trained soldiers without a single shot being fired, without a single cry of alarm being raised, is a feat beyond even the most elite special forces. Furthermore, Japanese military records from that period, which were later examined, made no mention of such an operation or the capture of such a large number of prisoners in that specific engagement. The Japanese themselves were baffled. The mystery deepened. How could an entire unit, complete with its officers and equipment, vanish from a fortified position overnight? There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of a battle, and no witnesses. The sentries posted by Colonel Li's own unit had also disappeared along with everyone else. The relief force that arrived found the perimeter completely undisturbed. It was a perfect, sealed-room mystery on a massive military scale. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The war raged on, and the incident of the vanishing soldiers was overshadowed by larger battles and strategic maneuvers. But for those who knew about it, the mystery lingered. Post-war investigations were launched, but they yielded no new clues. Interviews with surviving officers from both the Chinese and Japanese armies provided no answers. No one had seen or heard anything. The 3,000 soldiers were never seen again. Their families never received word. They were simply gone. Over the years, more speculative theories began to emerge, each more extraordinary than the last. Some people, unable to find a rational explanation, turned to the supernatural. Local legends spoke of ancient spirits guarding the river, or of a gateway to another dimension that had momentarily opened in the fog. Was it possible that these men had stumbled into something beyond our understanding? Ufologists proposed an even wilder theory: alien abduction. They pointed to the lack of physical evidence and the sheer impossibility of a conventional disappearance. Could a massive alien craft have descended in the fog and teleported the entire unit away? While it sounds like science fiction, proponents of this theory argue that in the absence of any logical explanation, one must consider all possibilities, no matter how outlandish. But let's return to the realm of the plausible, or at least the slightly more grounded. One of the more creative, albeit unproven, theories involves secret underground tunnels. The area around Nanjing is known for its complex network of ancient caves and man-made tunnels. Could the soldiers have discovered an entrance to a hidden network and used it to escape? This would explain the lack of tracks on the surface. But it raises other questions. Why would they abandon their heavy weapons? Where did the tunnels lead? And why did none of them ever surface again? It seems unlikely that 3,000 men could remain hidden in a tunnel system indefinitely without ever being discovered. Another, more grim possibility is that they were all captured and executed, and the evidence was meticulously covered up. But by whom? And how? As mentioned, the Japanese records show no such event. And for the Chinese army to perpetrate such an act against its own soldiers is unthinkable and lacks any motive. The logistics of secretly disposing of 3,000 bodies without leaving a single trace would be a monumental undertaking, arguably more difficult than the disappearance itself. So we are left with a puzzle with no solution, a historical anomaly that defies easy answers. We have a fully armed military unit holding a defensive line that disappears overnight. They leave behind all their weapons, their food, and their personal belongings. There are no signs of a fight, no bodies, no prisoners, and no witnesses. Both their allies and their enemies are mystified. This story serves as a stark reminder that even in our modern world, with all its technology and knowledge, there are still events that lie beyond our comprehension. The fate of Colonel Li Fuxin and his 3,000 men remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. Were they victims of a secret weapon? Did they desert through a hidden path? Or did they encounter something truly otherworldly in the fog that night on the banks of the Yangtze? The official records list them as missing in action, but the truth is likely far more complex and far stranger. Their story has become a legend, a cautionary tale whispered among soldiers about the unpredictability of war and the strange things that can happen in the fog of battle. It's a chilling piece of history that continues to baffle researchers and historians to this day. What do you think happened to them? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy diving into historical mysteries like this one, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. We'll see you in the next one.